This video is about the 1956 Hungarian Revolution and one of its leaders that escaped the Russian invasion that I later became friends with. It's November 15th, 2013. I'm in my Russian apartment and found this video last night as I was editing my timeline, and 1956 had reference to Tibor Cesley, a dear friend of mine. I was visiting him, returning to Buffalo, that I met my first wife. We became friends when I tutored him we were in night school taking calculus together at the University of Buffalo. And I think I was 19 then. In our night school class, we had a professor from India that had a very strong accent from India. And it was hard for Tibor, being a new English speaker, to understand the English with the accent. So I became friends with him and his wife because I would go to his home once a week and tutor him, help him understand what the professor had said. And for my payment for helping him was I would have supper with his family. His wife Kay, and they had a little child at the time. They had come from England. She was English. But that's how I got to meet Tibor.
At the end of a six-day fight that astonished the world and shook the Kremlin to its foundations, Hungary was free to fraternize on its own borders, and rush in supplies to the stricken city of Budapest along roads littered with burnt-out red tanks, disabled by almost unarmed men fired by passion for liberty. Flaring swiftly from student demonstrations into open revolution, the pent-up hatreds of oppression sent Russian might reeling and forced withdrawal of the red yoke. But even as these scenes were recorded, rumors flared of the re-entry of Russian forces and new fighting. The beautiful city of Budapest, scarred by conflict, again faces a Russian onslaught, even before the debris of the fight for freedom is cleared from the streets. In startling developments, Hungary broke with the satellite Warsaw Pact military alliance, announced neutrality, and pleaded for priority on the United Nations agenda. Then word came that Russian forces were massing, and all communication with the West was cut off. Hungary's newfound freedom is menaced before the martyrs of revolution go to their rest. The streets of Rome are thronged with demonstrators cheering Hungary's fight against red domination. Students began the demonstration in the early morning, 500 of them. By midday, over 10,000 had joined the anti-communist protest. In nearly every major Italian city, similar demonstrations were staged. But in Rome, things got a little out of hand. When the crowd marched on Communist Party headquarters, police moved in to keep order. In a matter of minutes, the political demonstration dissolved into a non-political riot. It started with scuffles that quickly turned into slugfests. Through the heart of the city, the battle between students and police raged. No new thing in Italy, but perhaps by its very intensity, a measure of Rome's anti-communist fervor.
I was aware at 16 when this Hungarian Revolution took place, and I was heartsick that America didn't go in and protect these people. The fear of nuclear weapons stopped. And it led to many escaping. That's how I got to know Tibor Cesley. He had escaped the Russian. He was an artificial breeder for farm communes and was in touch with many people in Hungary. One of the leaders in the revolt, the references I have to their the Hungarian freedom fighters, their own information has his name in that.
This is from a Hungarian freedom fighters website that I got around 2004. The references changed now, but you can put in the words, main words, and find the new site. But I have it saved on my website. If you go there, you can find a list of names and this information about Tibor. This is a picture I took in 1971 of my first wife, Pat, Tibor, and Margaret, my 3 children and Tibor's children.
Tibor and I remained friends after that course was finished. I was working on an Niagara Power project in the operating engineers, and in 2 years that was finishing up, and I went with Selby Drilling to New Jersey. But in the meantime, Tibor had gone to Niagara County, had bought a farm on land contract. That's where you have to make monthly payments. You don't need any money, but you have to make the monthly payments. It's like rent. And you don't get title to the property until it's completely paid for. So if you default on your payments, you lose everything you put into it. It was just like rent. And the summer that Tibor had that farm was a drought, and he couldn't get enough hay to feed his cows for the winter, and was unable to keep his payments, lost everything he had put into the farm. Kay left him then and went back to England, and then divorced him. When I quit construction in New Jersey, I wanted to get married and settle down. I came and went for the summer to Frieden Calculator School to service office equipment. And my only opening was in Syracuse, New York. So I was working there. And coming to Buffalo weekends, I would go to Tibor's, and we would visit and play chess. He was there with his one son at the time. And he had a girlfriend. Her friend ended up being Patricia Merzinski, my first wife. She was a healthy, well-built woman I thought would be a good wife and mother. So we ended up getting married. But with the time with Tibor of playing chess every weekend and arguing politics, he told me, for example, that the Hungarian Revolution wasn't an anti-communist revolution. It was an anti-Russian revolution. And also, in our arguing politics, I had the experience of about a month after a conflict where he disagreed with me. We were talking on a similar subject, and he ended up using my point of view, and I realized he wasn't indoctrinated by what I said, but the discussion we had provoked him to re-examine his experience, and what his advocating my point of view wasn't my point of view. It really was his from his own experience, reorganized with his reflection. The model had 2 types of economics, collective and capitalistic, and 2 types of politics, dictatorship and democracy. And if you mixed the democracy and capitalism, you had Americanism. If you mixed democracy and collective ownership, you had socialism, like Europe. If you mixed dictatorship and capitalism, you had something like fascism. If you mixed dictatorship and capitalism, that was if you mixed dictatorship and collective ownership, that was communism. 4 different types of government. It was a simple model, but that came out of our discussion. They were very fruitful. I also laid the foundation on my ontological life quest during that time, thinking in my room in Syracuse. The way that went, I was laying in my room, a single room in Syracuse, and asked myself, well, what is motivation for creation? And the answer I got was for company. One of the worst things you can have for an intelligent being is to be alone, a solitary confinement. And so I went to Syracuse University and signed up for Sociology 101. But I soon realized to really understand sociology, you needed to understand the individual for group behavior. And that's psychology. And to really understand the individual, you need to understand the brain and how it works. That's physiology. And to really understand physiology, you got to know how the nerve cells and cells in the body work, cytology. And to really know cytology, you need to know chemistry, how the chemicals work in the DNA and all that stuff. And to really know chemistry, you have to know physics. And the atoms and how they're attracted and all these things. Well, to really do physics, you need to do computer and mathematics. Years later, I ended up with a degree in mathematical physics with a minor in computer science. And I've been working ever since then. So I hope you like my website. Thank you.